Hi, welcome. On this video, I'd like to discuss why it is that when people pivot off of certain devices um, and lean on those devices in a big way, okay, it really becomes almost the center point of their approach. It really interferes in understanding the depth of the relationship with dogs, understanding that it's more than just about appearances, moving beyond this learning-based narrative to really get to the core of what's happening when it comes to the motives in play that underpin response and this picture problem, and understanding what the process itself, defining it properly, identifying what's really happening. And so the problem here, and the example I use when it comes to understanding some of the things when I talk about the training process, and sometimes people struggle to understand how I define it. What really gets in the way of that is, again, how people invest in certain devices such as remote collars, okay, very common amongst balanced dog trainers to use those devices in a big way, and even prong collars, or a combination of both of those. You'll see that those devices used often that way. But here's the thing, the example I use to understand how these things can get in the way of that is it's the same scenario as if you've ever gone into a grocery store or a store and you've gone up to the cash register to check out, and something happens to the cash register. The power goes out or whatever, and the cashier has become totally invested in that device in a big way, loses the ability to do basic math, to actually see beyond that. They rely on it so heavily that you're standing there and you know exactly how much you're supposed to get back, and it's embarrassing because the person, and I'm talking about smart people, this is how it starts to overtake their thinking. They become so dependent on it, they lose the basic ability to do basic math because they become too reliant on it. It gets in the way. It interferes in a person's thinking ability. And this holds true, this same example holds true in the dog training world. When I talk about the depth of the relationship and some of these issues, the problem is, and I see it because I even watched a video of a balanced dog trainer. Again, not mentioning names. I'm not, my goal isn't to make it personal like that. Just as an example, though, of watching him standing there, and this dog that he has on the leash is totally investing. The level of separation of the dog's state of mind is tremendous. There's a dog off camera view. This dog is totally fixated big time on this other dog and ramping up. And this trainer is talking about the remote collar, and he's doing nothing to interrupt this dog's state of mind. But once he gets to the point of putting the remote collar on the dog, that's when, in his mind, training begins. Okay, and it goes beyond that. It's about relationship. You have to think different. Okay, it's these tools again get in the way of understanding, moving beyond the tools to understand. It's about how relational change happens through how the person changes, and the tools, the path these tools take, they're a means to an end. But beyond that, they have to align properly. This is why, again, when I talk about certain tools not being helpful, and the reason people will pivot off these tools and not be able to get rid of these tools, because that's the reason a lot of people will pivot off, say, remote or prong collars, and then these dogs always have to have these devices on. Otherwise, the person feels they don't have the level of control when these devices are off the dog, so they just end up being on the dog most of the time. It's because they're not lining up. The person isn't changing. The bridge that is being built is being built properly. Okay, and the dog knows the real deal. They're like, hey, sure, that device is on me, but I'm still in control. The person hasn't really changed at the level needed. So these devices have to be stripped away for that reason. This is why I say prong collars and remote collars are not tools you want to pivot off of to begin with to create change. Just you want to strip it down to a basic flat collar and a standard leash, but with the right methodology. okay, that's going to line it up. That's important, because here's the thing: it's hard for, I believe, a lot of these device trainers to even get a sense of anything that way, because they've never stripped everything away and not invested in the right method. I say right method, I mean relationally, with how the method speaks the right language, with the specifics of the method, separating themselves from this learning-based narrative. And again, that's why I believe there's so much confusion, because to take it down, to strip everything away, requires a different way of thinking. Okay, you have to, you have to self-audit and really look at everything, say, okay, what role do these devices really play, and then go and then move up from there. So anyway, I just want to put it out there. Major problem in the dog training world as it relates to, I believe, understanding the process, because a lot of these trainers have merely dovetailed into a ready-made approach. It becomes too easy. It's almost like getting lazy about it. It's like a drive-through type of mentality, and they just want to make money, move forward. And things, I want people to understand this too, things are changing. I mean, this is why you're seeing these device collar bans, because of the fact these trainers can't justify their usage that way, because they can't break it down, because they never even looked at what the real problem is. They've just dovetailed into this stuff, and and just tried to just move forward based off of their personality and marketing plans. And I want people to understand that's all coming to an end. I mean, these trainers have been able to get away with this for a period of time, but I want people to understand something. This ideology that is responsible for these device bans happening, and the reason it's steamrolling over everything, because it's cannibalistic in nature, okay? That's just how it's going to work. And for people to even understand what I'm saying about the process, you have to go deeper. You've got to strip this stuff away, because what I'm doing is I'm just showing what the process is anyway. I'm just the messenger here. In reality, I've really created nothing. I'm just pointing towards what nature truly is. So I'd encourage anyone to be proactive in making the adjustment now. Don't wait until you get yourself put into a corner and over what's happening. And besides, it's the right way to do it anyway. You're going to be more effective. You're going to help more dogs and owners. You're going to truly understand what's going on, and you're going to be able to reconcile everything. You're going to be able to break down and explain the process properly so it makes sense to dog owners. So again, I would encourage you to check out my website. I have lots of great information, showing what the process is. These issues about devices such as remote and pinch collars. Sure, you can have a better walk and create a better position, okay, but not those devices are not effective in the type of tools that are going to create relational change. They just aren't. I don't use those tools that way. If I use a remote collar, it's a secondary tool way in the background, and I use it on vibration, and the role it plays in my system is so minor within the context of the crate, but it's about relationship. So the prong collars, I don't use them because again, they're not a good tool to in order to create change. Okay, you want to strip everything away. So anyway, if you have any questions, contact me. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thanks for watching.